Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Rahim Habib, and I'm a manager in our senior living practice. As part of this episode of Senior Living Insights, we want to share with you a tool that we have created to help track the various economic relief funds that Congress has passed. Due to the coronavirus, the United States Congress has passed various pieces of legislation that were intended to provide economic relief for organizations that were impacted. As part of this tracking tool, we have summarized the key provisions within it. The information within this tool is intended to be a guided illustration of the regulations and requirements on how to use these funds, but in no way represents all the information that could be or should be understood in the use of the funds. However, the tool is intended to be a guide that offers suggestions and ideas on how to track the receipt and spending of the various economic relief funds that organizations like you have received. The tool is our attempt at CLA to help organizations help optimize the opportunities provided by Congress and help mitigate any future surprises. Let's take a quick look at the tracking tool itself. Within the tracker, the first tab will provide you a summary of the various relief funds that have been dispersed. This allows you to select each program that you have received funds for and track whether the current allowable expenses meets the criteria. For instance, if the spending ratio currently is outside of the program-specific requirements, this tracking spreadsheet will give you a warning sign. For example, if your organization received funds under the Payroll Protection Program, also known as PPP, you would place an X here. Within this column, after inputting how the funds were spent on the following tabs, it will be populated to show whether or not the current spending ratio is allowed under the program. And if you're not meeting the allowed spending ratio, a warning sign will be indicated to help you. Let's take a deeper look at the tool now. The second tab, which is the allowable cost matrix, is a summary of the various economic funds and their allowable cost. And for example, under the PPP loan, allowable costs are marked with an X. Allowable costs include salaries less than $100,000, overtime payroll related to COVID-19 staffing, utility payments for services prior to February 15, 2020, and many others. But you will also notice that under the PPP program, it does not include certain costs related to COVID-specific training and orientation, patient screening, PPE, and amongst other things. This cost matrix is really an understanding for your organization to understand what is and what is not allowable, and comparing and contrasting the various programs. Looking off to the right, you'll notice that certain COVID cost is allowable. Let's take a look at this. For instance, if your organization received $1 million under the PPP loan, you would have the option to input it here. As you begin spending portions of that dollars, you would track those costs. For example, if you spend $70,000 on compensation, $5,000 on utilities, and $20,000 on facility and equipment related costs, according to the summary, your current spending ratio is potentially out of compliance with the requirements under the PPP loan. As you remember, the PPP loan requires all your payroll and benefits to be at least 75% of your spending. But if you spent the money in this following manner, $90,000 on compensation, $5,000 on utilities, and $20,000 on facility and equipment related costs, your spending ratio is within the program requirements and you potentially will receive forgiveness. You will also notice that the warning status goes away. This is just a quick illustration of how the economic relief tracking tool can be utilized by your organization. If you want to gain a deeper understanding of this tool and have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to a CLA team member. For those senior living organizations and providers that are watching today, the CLA family wants to thank you for everything you have done to take care of our aging population. We here at CLA are extremely happy and proud to work with you. That's all for today's episode of Senior Living Insights. Check back for future updates and insights.